Jared Big Baby Anderson, because he's back in the ring this weekend taking on Riyad Mary. And I don't think that's the biggest story here, because I think a lot of people, when we take a look at the odds, it was like minus 1,000 for Jared Anderson straight up on the money line, something ridiculous. So no money be green for this one, because I think Bryan and I are both betting the exact same way. We expect Jared Big Baby Anderson to get the knockout, but I think it's just everything that's transpired with Big Baby leading up to now and all the trouble that he's gotten in, what type of performance we want to see him have next. Bryan, your thoughts on how much Jared Anderson needs a very, very nice victory into the eyes as well.
So the interesting thing here is Jared Anderson is actually not just minus 1,000 on the money line, but one book has him minus 400 to win, even by knockout or technical knockout. So there's your money be green segment. It's plus 140 to knock him out in the last 5 rounds, and plus like 165 to do it in the first five, whatever. But basically with Jared Anderson, I mean, look, I need to see more at this point. We know he has power, and I don't think we're going to see much more than that even in this fight against Riyad Mary, who has already been knocked out once and actually lost to Kevin Lorena, who I don't know if people remember this, but he gave Daniel Dubois a hell of a scare a couple years ago, knocking down Dubois 3 times in the first round. And that could have really changed the trajectory of somebody who nearly won a heavyweight title, according to some people, when he fought Alexander Usyk in one of his more recent fights, and then obviously had the comeback win against Jarrell. Not comeback win, but had the impressive finish against Jarrell Miller. So Riyad Murray's been in there with some dudes. Kevin Lorena is probably the one who most people would recognize, and he's also been stopped in his career late. So with Jared Anderson, it's like, yeah, he should handle business. Maybe he struggles a little bit, but we've seen him pull back and get caught. We've seen him get rocked before early on in his career, and even in some of his latter fights. The fight against Charles Martin was interesting because that one went to distance when a lot of people didn't expect that, considering Charles Martin, hasn't gone a distance with some others, like Anthony Joshua most famously got him out of there within the first couple rounds of their fight several years ago. And this is an older Charles Martin that went to distance with Jared Anderson, who actually had some moments in that fight. And I thought one, maybe two or so, 3 rounds or something like that, probably two. Um, it's interesting because if you look at like BoxRec rankings, which is a little bit more of an analytical ranking, I tell people all the time, like it's not a pure like this person's better than this person. It's kind of based on like how they stack up resumes, accomplishments, and things of that nature. But he's 21st in the heavyweight division. Ring Magazine has him 7th right now, which is interesting because he called out Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder's 9th after that loss to Joseph Parker. I'm at the point with Jared Anderson where, like, yeah, I think he can be a great heavyweight, but there's the arrest that he had not that long ago, earlier this year, the high speed chase where he was doing, I think, over 100. I remember reading he didn't have a seatbelt. You know what I mean, and shit like that. And he's also said, like, like, I kind of want to get in and get out. I want to retire at 27. He's 24 right now, and it's like, all right, there's just a lot here. So I'm curious to see what sort of unfolds for him next. I think at the very least, he needs a big time performance. And then after this, I think he needs a big time challenge. Like, I actually think a fight that would make a lot of sense is, him fighting the winner of F.A. Jagba and Guido Vianello, which is on the same card. And I feel like Top Rank is actually like doing some interesting matchmaking there. Like, if Jared Anderson wins, and he should, he would fight the winner of this fight next, which I think should be F.A. Jagba. We'll ultimately see. And, this is at a time where they're putting Richard Torres in the ring with undefeated heavyweight Brandon Moore. So I feel like we're getting closer to sort of this round robin or heavyweight tournament or whatever, but we're going to start seeing these guys fight each other who've all been fighting separate dudes. So I think that's going to be interesting as well. But yeah, Jared Anderson, like, we need to see it. We need to see it. And we need to keep seeing it against better and better competition. I do think he can get some sort of heavyweight title shot in the next couple of years, but he has to keep bulldozing through these guys.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for me is what we're going to see from him this weekend. I think he needs a knockout performance. Everyone's banking on that. Vegas thinks it's going to happen as well. But for Jared Big Baby Anderson, he also has court on the 15th. So this is a fight that he really needs to put on a good performance, because we don't really know what's going to happen when he goes to court. and hopefully everything will go smooth for him. But nonetheless, this is a fight where I think when you take a look at the names, I think Fa Ajagba makes the most sense for Top Rank, and the fact that Fa Ajagba is fighting on the co-main, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a very good fight, but I also want to see him fight competition that has a little bit of a bigger name. Like, what if he fought a guy like Otto Wallin, right? What if he fought?
I like that fight.
Yeah, I think that's a really good fight for him. And those are the type of names I want to see Jared Big Baby Anderson fight, because at this point in his career, he's been labeled to be the next great American heavyweight. So let's get some names on your resume. And when I take a look at the heavyweight division, I mean, there definitely are some really good names, but I think Otto Wallin makes sense. A lot of people are thinking, what's going to happen with Hrgovic? What
There
did
was
we just?
rumors about Anthony Joshua potentially fighting him, and now that's sort of died down a little bit. So
Yeah. And listen, you look at the top guys at the heavyweight division, like he's not going to fight Tyson Fury. He's not going to fight Alexander Usyk. He's probably not going to fight Anthony Joshua. I think by the time Jared Anderson gets up there, getting title shots, maybe Anthony Joshua won't even be fighting, but he's calling out a guy like
well, he
Deontay
should
Wilder.
he should be though. Here's the thing: he's 16-0 at this point, 17 after this week. Like we're already
Does
talking.
Anthony Joshua take that fight though? But I do think that's a fight Anthony Joshua wins. Like I'm saying right now, if we were
Yeah,
putting them in
yeah.
the ring together, Anthony Joshua definitely wins that fight.
So we talked about Richard Torres' trajectory not that long ago, and I feel like Richard Torres, he's somebody who, because of the developmental stage that he's at, age, and all those things, he's probably 2-3 years away from like real contention. So he might miss out on the Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua, sort of crop. And if he gets them, they'll probably be like much older. Jared Anderson's already like closer, and this weekend will determine some of that, but I'm not saying he's going to be next in line for the Tyson Fury Alexander Usyk winner, right? If it's Tyson Fury winning that fight, Anthony Joshua should be next in line. If it's Alexander Usyk, are you going to run it back with Anthony Joshua a third time? Jared Anderson might not be that far. This
No,
might be a 2025 conversation.
yeah, I think I don't know if it's a 2025 conversation, because I still think there's other guys, and like, what's going on with Andy Ruiz? Who is Andy Ruiz going to fight next? I'd rather see Jared Anderson against a guy like Andy Ruiz. Even if Jared Anderson fought an OG like Luis Ortiz, who he still wants to fight, right? Like there
Frank
are names.
Sanchez?
Frank Sanchez. What's up with Frank Sanchez? Like there are names ahead of Big Baby where I don't think we see those fight babies till 2026. Where maybe he gets mentioned with an Anthony Joshua, because there's so many other names where Anthony Joshua could fight. Possibly, what about a guy like Joyce?
So let's look at these rankings, right? In a WBC, he's fifth. FA Jacques was fourth, which I find very interesting, given that they're on the same. So that has to be the next fight. Like Jared Anderson, FA Jacques, it's right there. It's really simple. Assuming Guido Vianello doesn't upset the apple cart here, right?
Yes.
And actually pulls off the win. WBA, he's 13th. We probably don't have to worry about that governing body in this particular conversation. The IBF, he's fifth. He's behind Danny Dubois, Anthony Joshua, Filip Hrgovic, and then there's a not rated spot at number 2. I would like to see Jared Anderson versus Danny Dubois. I think that makes a lot of
Great
sense. I
fight.
think that makes a ton of sense. Filip Hrgovic is also somebody we just mentioned. FA Ajagba, I feel like, is the fight to make here. Frank Sanchez, I wouldn't be mad at that as well. And then the WBO is Top Rank. We got to mention the WBO. Jared Anderson, Top Rank fighter. He's fourth. So that's the highest ranking that he has in all the governing bodies. What a surprise, right?
I also think it's important for FA Jogba to get a big fight too.
Agreed. That's why I think they need each other. And you should actually make that like a ESPN main event. This is in April. You could do that in like August before the NFL really gets going. You know what I mean? Like you could sort of
Yeah.
squeeze that in there. The top guys at WBO right now, where Joseph Parker also has a title there because Alexander Usyk has the main one, and then you have Joseph Parker there. So Joseph Parker is going to get he's another one that he might get the first crack at the Tyson Fury Alexander Usyk winner, depending on how that goes. But Jared Anderson's fourth, and he's only behind Frank Sanchez, Zhilei Zhang, and Anthony Joshua. So I think you fight Fa Ajagba next, and then we'll see where we're at after that.
I'd be okay with him fighting FA, and whoever wins that fight, maybe fight Otto Wallin and then continue to move up the ladder. FA, though, I think really deserves a shot at this point. So I do want to see how FA Ajagba does potentially in this fight. I'm not going to say he's going to win because you never know in boxing, but he should win the fight on the co-main.
By
But you
the
never
way,
know.
I'm not sleeping as of now. Well, maybe this will look different after Sunday. I'm not sleeping on Fa Ajagba against Jared Anderson.
No, not at all. I might put money on FA. I want to see how Jared Big Baby Anderson fights, and
Yeah,
then we still have to see him go through a court case. He has court on the 15th.
the 2 days
So
after the fight. Yeah,
and
and
there's a reason why the fight's happening 2 days before the court case, right? So
it's
this
also
is
true.
this is all lining up for Jared Anderson to possibly potentially have a very big fight. And if that happens this weekend, if he has the great performance, possibly a fight with Fa Ajagba in the future. But nonetheless, here on the mandatory, we want to see who you think Jared Big Baby Anderson should fight next. Not to say that he's going to for sure win in his next fight. You never know with boxing. He's got a lot of stress on his head with court coming up. Just to ask you one final thing. If you were to see Jared Big Baby Anderson and Richard Torres right now, fantasy purposes, who do you like better?
I can't wait till Sunday.
No, you got to say it now. Just fantasy
I kind of like
purposes.
Richard Torres, bro. I kind of.
Richard Torres
I want to
is
see.
that
I
dude.
want to see Richard Torres against Brandon Moore. Like I want to see him step up in competition. But like I trust his work ethic, his work rate. And I
The
feel
way
like
he moves around the ring.
I think defensively, I have less concerns with him as opposed to Jared Anderson, who I have more concerns about him defensively when he fights some of these upper echelon guys.
And listen, we had Richard Torres on our show. Go check out that episode. He did mention how him and Jared are really, really good friends. So maybe a fight down the line. I think that every boxing fan really wants to see. Here at the mandatory.
2026, 2027.
Jeez,
That'll
that's far
happen.
away. That's far away. Who
Jared
knows
Anderson
what?
said he's out at 27. He got 3 years left.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And here at the mandatory, we'll be somewhere different by 2026, 2027.
Yeah, I don't believe Jared. By the way, I don't believe Jared Anderson's got 3 years left. I don't think he's gonna be out at 27.
No, not with everything that's going on legally. He's gonna want to make as much bread as
Well,
he wants.
hopefully that's not why he's out by 27. Let's hope that that's not the case.
Fingers crossed. But we are going to have obviously a full preview week next week. Bryan with Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. We're going to have a lot of content for you guys coming up. So make sure to leave some comments as well if you're excited about that fight. We're not going to be able to do a post-fight show, but we will have a recap after that fight. So make sure to watch out for that as well. Bryan, any final thoughts before we get up and out of here?
Yeah, no post fight live next week. There's a lot going on. I may be at the fight. That's one of the reasons that that we might not be able to do that. And there's also the start of the NBA playoffs, so we're gonna be busy as hell. We could do a pre-fight live though, like not the day of the fight, but our preview. We could do that live here, so we may do that during the
Let's
week.
do that
We'll talk
live.
about that. Yeah.
Let's do that live. A little
We'll
bit of a
probably
busier week for me because I'm
yeah.
traveling, but we'll definitely try to figure that out for sure. If you want us to do the pre-fight live, drop comments, let us know. We want to know what live shows you want us to do. Extremely long episode. I did not think this episode would go 45 minutes. But it did. So thank you so much for rocking with us. And here at the mandatory, we'll be back with some more boxing content. Enjoy the fights this week.